Hey, what's going on there, Dice Rollers? Paul here, and I'll be your DM for a while. And today I want to talk about how to fix Spelljammer for $1. But before we get into that, I want to welcome in all our new guests today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for checking out the video. Would love for you to go ahead and click that subscribe button down there, because then you'll get videos like this in your inbox on a regular basis. So thank you for being here. Now let's get into how to fix Spelljammer. So let's go ahead and run through the best things that I think are included here and why you should go ahead and get this resource. Once again, this is not a sponsored video. I make no money. I found this by searching, by Googling, just like you did, how to fix Spelljammer Combat, and actually found this on Reddit, and then found the resource over on DM's Guild. So let's go ahead and start to break it down. I'll try to be as quick as possible, and I'll show you what I really like about this resource that's going to help you at your table, and it's definitely going to help me at my table. So just the introduction, I'll just read a couple of things. I do not feel, Atros says, while I do not personally take issue with the rules being simplistic, I do feel they remove the focus and spotlight off of where it belongs on the player characters. And I think that's exactly what Atros puts back in all these different expanded rules. He definitely puts the emphasis back on what are player characters doing during combat. And Atros also tells us here that you will find the alternative rules and mechanics herein heavily influenced by the naval ship rules found in Appendix A of the Ghosts of Saltmarsh adventure book, which why Wizards of the Coast just didn't look at that and import some of that over here, I don't know. That's a question they would have to answer, but I think that was a major loss on their part. So one of the first things that this resource does is it gives characters something to do on the ship. If you have the resource, you know that the main person on the ship is the Spelljammer, the person controlling or person at the helm of the Spelljammer that is controlling the ship, is basically directly influencing the magic and a lot of the actions that the ship will take. But what this resource does is it spreads out the opportunities. Okay, so here's where we come to the ship officers and crew, and this is where they expand the roles of everybody in the party so they can have a part on the ship. The very first is the Spelljammer. They are the spellcaster who uses their magic to propel and steer the spelljamming vessel. And they're at the helm, and they control a lot of the ship's actions. Now, what is everybody else supposed to do while that wizard or whomever warlock is running the ship? Well, let's go ahead and scroll down here to some of the other opportunities. You have the first mate, and the first mate takes on the duties of motivating and leading the crew. The first mate role is usually a good fit for someone with high charisma and wisdom. Maybe your bard. That might be a good one, right? Because they could play a little Pirates of the Caribbean maybe music while they're trying to get things done. But they do things like motivate the crew and take aim, so they can encourage people to say, hey, look, aim that thing over there. You'll get a better shot that way. Another role that you have here is the Bosun or the boatswain, and they take on the duties of maintaining and operating the ship and its weaponry. The Bosun role is usually a good fit for someone with high strength or dexterity, and they can do things like emergency repairs. As an action, you quickly make repairs to the ship using whatever materials are available. The repairs may not hold long term, but they'll do for now. Think of Scotty, from Star Trek, who's just trying to make everything fit, right? He's trying to do everything he can. I'm doing all I can, Captain. And then you have the medic officer, which the medic officer takes on duties of tending to the injuries of illness, crew, and fellow officers. The medical officer is a good role for someone with high wisdom. But I would say this, that once again, it doesn't have to be a cleric that takes that role. It could be somebody who has very good high roles in medicine, or it can be somebody who's just running around with, you have a number of healing potions on you or magic items that help with that. So that could be a person running around doing those things. So this gives your players a lot of things to do at the table, which I am grateful for, because you don't want, sometimes you don't want players just running all over the ship, kind of doing whatever they want to do. They have roles and responsibility. And they even offers a place for a generic officer, that if you want to give a generic officer, if you have an extra player, beyond 4 or 5 people, you can give them generic officer roles, and then they can do things like take aim or full speed ahead, things of that nature, which I think is great, because then you can once again include other players that may show up at your table. Okay, now let's go ahead and scroll down. I don't want to show you everything because I want you to go and buy the resource, but I'm going all this, but I want to just focus on some of the things that I think are going to make your game better. At least it's going to make my game better. I'll tell you that. And that is the Spelljammer Combat and Hazards. And the map setup here says, using these rules, A Spelljammer combat encounter is expected to take place on a gridded map as normal. The player characters, with a possible exception for the Spelljammer who may be below deck, are represented by tokens on top of their spelljamming vessels. When the spelljamming vessel moves, all tokens aboard that vessel also move. During their turn, a creature can also move and position itself around the deck just as it would normally move around any other map. A creature can also jump overboard or board another vessel that's close enough to reach. Now, I'm going to show you my Roll20 here in just a minute to show you the grid that I'm going to use and how to use that maybe in your combats. So let's jump down here to Spelljammer ship actions and things that are not included. There's some things included in here that are not included in the initial Spelljammer resource, like starting distances. Artillery ranges extend far beyond what is feasible to represent on a single battle map, such as a mangonel, which can reach up to 800 feet, which would represent 160 squares with a 5-foot grid. And like I said, we'll get into that in just a minute. During its turn, the Spelljammer ship can perform all or the following actions: move up to its speed, turn up to its agility. Now, that's one that is not included, I believe, in the Spelljammer rules, that the agility, how can you turn? How can you move your ship in a way that's going to like turn back around, right? Attack as many weapons that can be fully manned by the current number of crew members. Take any special actions that are specified in the ship's stat block. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump over to my Roll20 so you can see how I'm kind of doing my distances and then talk about the agility a little bit. All right, so here I am over on my Roll20 where I have these really awesome maps. If you're interested in seeing some of the assets I've gotten for Spelljammer, leave me a comment down below. But here we have at recommended that he has recommended in the resource that you place your ships as far apart as possible. So it could be up here, down here, but I have one ship right here, and I have one ship right here. And I have set, and once again, I'm not great at math. You can make these whatever you want. If you say, I want them to be 100 feet or 100 yards, depending on which way you want to float. Like I said, these grids here, this hex here, depending how you count them, they go about 27 to 30 hexes across. And the furthest shooting gun you have is a Mangolin, which I believe is 2,400 feet, 2,400 yards, however you want to figure it out in space. I just don't want to spend a lot of time doing math in my game. I'll do a reasonable amount of math. And I also don't want, what I think this fixes too, is I don't want to talk a lot about what you can and can't do. I don't want to get into discussions about, astrophysics of what you can and cannot do in space. I just want combat to be simple and what a ship can do. So here they are. This is about 2,700. If I say 2,700 to 3,000, whether you say feet away or yards away, however you do your math, however you want to do it, you can do 100 yards. You could travel a football field, let's say, in one of those hexes and still be able to shoot the furthest distance. Like I said, you can make it longer, where if you say, look, it's 200 yards each one, and that way you have to still move and do some things to be able to shoot the long distance. Now, the resource says you will be shooting at disadvantage if you go beyond your limit. So if you're going past the Mangolins, 2,400 feet, you're trying to shoot 2,700, you're going to get disadvantage on that. But listen, there's nothing that says you can't try, right? So let me go ahead and zoom in here a little bit, because what this is going to show us is on your agility, and it's going to be a turn. Let me go ahead and squeeze in here. So on these here, if I go up to my ship up here, if I am, let's say, cruising through space here, and I make a turn here, and I have a 45-degree agility, right? So I can, on one of my turns, I can start to turn around. So let's make it easy. Let's make it 180. So if I want to just quickly turn around and spin around the other way, well, that's going to be a turn. I say, look, as part of my turn, part of my movement, I'm going to go ahead and turn. If my ship can do that and I can do a 180 turn real quick, then that's what I'm going to be able to do within that space, because you're talking about, a football field or a couple of football fields that you can be able to spin around in that space to go back. Let's say I want to go 45 degrees. Say, okay, I can go 45 degrees. Or if you say, I want to go 90 degrees, you say, okay, I'm going to go 90 degrees over this way. Whichever way you want to do it, I think the agility, it adds to your movement. It adds to the crunchiness, if you will, of the ship. And I think it offers a lot of possibilities and opportunities to do exactly what you want to do in this game, which is have these combats. And having your ships have an agility score gives you that maneuverability and adds to the authenticity and realism maybe of having a real Spelljammer combat scenario here, where you're using your movement, you're clicking, you're kind of doing this and that, but you're getting that feel right here on your table or on your screen of having real combat. And I think that's the real deal here, is having a lot of fun with that. All right, and here we go, right here for $1, right? Like I said, Spelljammer Combat Expanded. And if I scroll up here a little bit, I read from you from the 1.3 version, but there's also a 1.4 version. Added a player handout for each officer role, which is kind of cool. Included in a separate file, navigator officer role, expanded guidance for playing on hex grids, made minor edits and additions to every section throughout. So lots of information there, lots of resources. So I hope you go by and pick it up. All right, and that is how to fix your Spelljammer game for $1. I hope that you enjoyed all the little tools that are in there. I especially enjoyed the expanded roles for all the players, so they can be able to do the things that they want to do and give them purpose on their ship. But you guys let me know, what do you think about this resource? Do you have it? Are you going to get it? Are you excited about using it in your game? Leave me some comments down below. Would love to hear from you. So that is it for today, guys. Thank you for watching today, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.